WT. Hey, WT, I hope you guys are all doing well. It is absolutely my honor to be speaking to you today. And I just want you to know that Christina did a very nice intro, but I just want you to know that you're in very good hands. This is not my first rodeo. I've done a lot of presentations for the past 15 years. I started out in stand-up comedy. I've played the best gigs, the worst gigs, Just for Laughs Comedy Festival, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. I've done morning radio shows in Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, New York, Los Angeles. I've been on, as Christina was nice enough to mention, I've been on CBC, CBS, NBC, A&E, all of the networks. I'm sure nobody's ever heard of me before. Don't you love Canadian show business? It's better than the witness protection program. Hello. So I know this is weird that this is virtual and this is strange, but it's okay. I'm used to not getting laughs. It's all good. It's all good. So like I said, I did the news, the sports, the weather for years. And if you like me this afternoon as a result, my name is Judy Croon. If you don't, my name is Sandy Ronaldo. So just keep that in mind. All right. Okay, here we go. Yeah, doing the news in Toronto. I'm in Toronto. They doing the news is always the same. It's always about the crime. You can't trust anybody. I go to the laundromat the other day. Me and this guy, 10 machines. He decides to use the one right beside me. So I stabbed him and took his fire knife on the safe side. Hey, hello. And lots of creepy people too. Oh my goodness. I go to my hairdresser the other day. The guy's washing my hair. Finally, we get out of the shower. And hey, hey, no, it's not that kind of show. I'm kidding. I tease, but I hope you're smiling at least. And I hope you got a laugh. You'll get a chuckle because you know what? When we laugh, we relax. When we relax, we learn. And you know what's great about these mics? You can actually do a mic drop. No one gets hurt. When we laugh, we relax. When we relax, we learn. Research at Loma Linda University in California has actually shown that 1 minute of stress can weaken our immune system for 8 hours. On the other hand, 1 minute of laughter can boost our immune system for 24 hours. So you're welcome. Research at Harvard has actually shown that when we get stressed out, the gray matter in our brain actually shrinks. So just a quick review. When we laugh, we relax. When we relax, we learn. Okay, that's the main thing. And here's the thing, when we're not laughing, when we're stressing out, we fire off our adrenaline and cortisol, our stress hormones. And we definitely need our stress hormones when something is an emergency at home or at work. But too many times we fire off our stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, and what we don't realize, it actually takes way longer for for those levels to get back to normal. And it's this constant overlapping of stress hormones that can lead to heart attacks, can lead to ulcers, can lead to cancer, can lead to Alzheimer's. But again, when we laugh, we relax. When we relax, we learn. The Mayo brothers of Mayo Clinic fame said decades ago that half of the people in the world are in hospitals as a result of stress. That's the impact that stress has on our health. Now, a lot of people say, well, you know what? I don't have time to work on my happiness. I don't have time to work on the hope. I don't have time to work on the ha-ha, right? But here's the thing. And I know that you guys are under a lot of stress, information overload. You guys have burnout. There's been changes in management. There's been changes in the organization, big changes in the organization recently. There's a lot of uncertainty. The workforce adjustment, trying to get folks back into work, physically back into work. You have a lot of stresses, the usual stresses, right? There's not enough time, too many tasks. I heard about the dental plan rollout where something is basically thrown in your lap and you have to build the plane as you're hitting the ground running, right? And it is stressful. The amount of homelessness that we have across our nation now. I do volunteer with a group here in Toronto, and it's sad and it's stressful. And I know that all falls in your lap. But I want to share with you something this afternoon, and that is when we are hopeful, when we are happy, when we laugh with our colleagues, when we laugh with our friends, we are triggering the right, bright, creative side of our brain. And when we take a second to step back and put the happiness and put the hope before our success, we have a greater chance of being successful. In fact, over 250 independent studies with 300,000 participants have shown us over and over again that when we put that happiness, we put the hope, we put some humor before the success, we have a greater chance of being successful, because what we do in these instances is we actually activate our real estate in our brain that just doesn't get enough of a workout, our right, bright, creative side. And this is why when we associate information with humor, with happiness, with hope, we trigger our right, bright, creative side. And as a result, not only are we more creative, we're more, we trigger our intuition, we trigger our innovation. And as a result, we are able to stay ahead of the competition. We are able, in this day and age of AI, to stay ahead of the robots by being human, by listening, by sharing our our sympathy, our empathy, our storytelling, the things that make us human, those things that make us better when we're dealing with customers, when we're dealing with our clients. So that happiness is triggered, like I said, that hope triggers our creativity and our innovation as a result, and we are able to perform better. I'll give you two examples of people who used creativity, who used happiness, who used humor within their companies to make a giant difference. So I was on a flight coming back from Europe a couple of years ago, and I fell asleep during the safety video. And I woke up 2 minutes later, and everyone was laughing on the plane. Well, what happened is a few years before, Southwest Airlines had decided that they wanted to get some more eyeballs on the screen. And they said, well, what if we made our videos funny? What if we made our videos a little looser? We'll still get the information out, but we'll include humor, we'll include happiness. And what ended up happening? Well, now people were laughing. They hired comedians, they hired improvisers, they hired actors, and now all the airlines started doing it. So many times you'll be on Facebook or you'll be on Instagram and you'll see flight attendants doing that quote unquote boring information. But now we're looking at it because it's funny. It's making us laugh. And instead of just educating 300 people on a plane, now thousands, millions of people are watching these videos on Facebook and on YouTube and Instagram, social media. Another example of using humor to get a message across. A gentleman saw a woman pulled off to the side of the road. This was in Arizona a couple of years ago. And she was unconscious. She was in her vehicle. And he broke the window. He pulled her out. He started doing CPR. But here's the thing, he'd never taken a CPR training course before. However, he remembered a very funny episode of The Office, the CPR training episode. I don't know how many people have seen it, and if you need a laugh, it's a great episode to watch again. And he remembered in that particular episode of The Office that when you do the chest compressions to the beat of Staying Alive, that's actually the number of beats per minute that you should be doing chest compressions to. And there he was off to the side of the road, actually singing out loud, staying alive, staying alive. Paramedics arrived 10 minutes later. They said that he probably saved that woman's life. So when we associate information with humor, with happiness, with hope, we have a greater chance of that information being sticky. We have a greater chance of remembering that information. So during this presentation, I would like to give you some takeaways. I would like to give you some information. I'd like to make it funny. I'd like to make it hopeful. I'd like to make it happy. And I'd like to give you 7 ingredients for relieving stress, this humorous look at change and resiliency. And hopefully you'll have a couple of takeaways. And if you have a few takeaways, and maybe you'll have a lot of takeaways, then what I'm really hoping is the next time, before you fire off your stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, somebody at work triggers you or something at home triggers you, just remember how much longer the adrenaline and cortisol actually is still flowing. Even when we think we're better, somebody cuts us off in traffic, 2 minutes later, we feel okay. It takes so much longer for our stress levels to actually get back to normal. And again, it's that constant overlapping of stress hormones. So if I can pull you back from the brink, then I can add some quality to your life. But maybe I can add some minutes, some hours, some days, maybe a month or two. And if I've done that, then I've done my job. Okay. All right. So the 7 ingredients, here we go. The 7 ingredients for relieving stress, some stress busters. Number 1, a positive attitude. I don't know how many people here on the call today consider themselves positive people, but consider this. According to research at the University of Utrecht in the Netherlands, positive people statistically live longer than negative people. How much longer? Up to 10 years longer. Woohoo! Statistically. Now, there's no magic, there's no hocus pocus. It just makes common sense. Positive thoughts equal positive actions equal a positive purposeful life. What's the alternative? Negative words equal negative actions equal Donald Trump. Do you want to be Donald Trump? I don't think so. Hey, listen, I'm not a Pollyanna. I'm like you. I sat in front of my TV set when Donald Trump won, not one, but 2 times. And yes, I feel like I'm living in an episode of American Horror Story. I thought to myself, how can this person who looks like the love child of Carrot Top and Chucky, how can they possibly be president of the United States? Not once, but twice. But then that's when I leaned on the words of Michelle Obama. What does Michelle Obama always say? When they go low, exactly, we get high. And sorry, that's Justin Trudeau. When they go low, we go high. And if you need further proof of this, consider a study that the UN does every year. Happiest places in the world. Canada is usually in the top 20. For our size, we are relatively safe. We're relatively clean. It's not perfect, but we have a healthcare system. We have a welfare system. The Netherlands is usually in the top 20 as well, for many of the same reasons as Canada, but the Netherlands also have the Institute of Happiness. They believe that happiness is so important, they have the Institute of Happiness. The Swiss also usually in the top 20. The Swiss attribute their happiness to being orderly and on time. Oh, what fun. But the Swiss also believe that talking about what you do for a living is tacky. They think in North America, it's a very tacky thing when people go, "Hi, how are you? What do you do for a living?" Because they think that it might create unhappiness in the person that you're talking to. Switzerland, one of the wealthiest countries in Europe, they think that talking about your money that might create envy, or it might create stress in the person that you're talking to. So they say talk about anything other than what you do for a living. Start out a conversation like, "Hi, how are you? How much do you weigh? Is your husband still having an affair?" Something, anything other than what you do for a living. Obviously, I'm kidding, but you get the point. Another country that usually, excuse me, allergies. Another country that is now usually in the top 3 is Denmark. Now, I have a little podcast called Laugh Long and Prosper, and I had started it during COVID. I wanted to talk to people how they were getting through COVID. What were their coping mechanisms? And the Danes have something called hug, which roughly translated means hug. And when you go home, you have your hygge krug, you have your hug corner where you'll have your throw cushions, you'll have your candles. The average Dane burns like 13 kilograms of wax per year. You have your tea or your brandy, your book, your wool socks, and that's your hygge krug. But then they take it to another level. They have the average Dane belongs to 2 or 3 organizations or associations. So they believe that socializing is really, really obviously important, as we know. So I said to the expert, I said, Heidi, how did you guys get through COVID? I mean, that takes, what about your associations, your organization? She said, Judy, we've been doing this for centuries. The idea of getting together with people, even before we had the phones, even before we had the Zoom calls, but even when we couldn't, get together face to face, people would stand at the edge of their driveways, or they would, again, do Zoom, they would do FaceTime, whatever it is, but making the effort. And that's how the Danes got through COVID. Hugo was one of their superpowers. So, what's also interesting about this study, though, happiest places in the world, there are some countries that have a lot of crime, a lot of poverty, but they score higher than some of the other countries with lesser crime, less poverty. Indonesia, India, Mexico. And one of the reasons, again, there's no hocus pocus, it just kind of makes common sense. And that is sometimes, sometimes countries with a lot of poverty are forgotten about. They are forgotten about by advertisers, right? So they're not targeted by advertisers. So as a result, these people in these countries aren't flipping through magazines all day, targeted towards them, going, you know what? I'll be happy when I buy my own boat. I'll be happy when I buy my own island. I'll be happy when I buy my own helicopter. Instead, poor people say, I'm grateful to be alive. I'm happy to be alive. Thank you. And if some poor kid in Indonesia making $10 a day can find something in their life to be grateful for, who am I here in Canada to complain because I can't assemble my IKEA furniture? Like, really? Although IKEA furniture is a little bit frustrating, I'll admit it. How come you can always see IKEA from the highway, but you can never get to it? What is up with that? I went to IKEA the other day. Took me 3 hours to assemble my bookshelf. It's supposed to be a bed. I'm sleeping on a bookshelf. I mean, you ever go to IKEA? They give you the instructions. The instructions never have words. They just have pictures. I mean, the instructions are complicated when the people in the pictures are arguing with each other. Anyway, I digress. Although, you know what? I got to be honest. I don't know about you guys, but this year has gone by so fast. We're almost into December. The year started off a little bit scary for me, I got to admit. 3 weeks after Christmas, I was visited by the ghost of Christmas past, Visa. And I don't know how my bills got so high. I did all my Christmas shopping at Costco. I don't know if we have any Costco shoppers, but don't you love Costco? Isn't it addictive, right? You go in for toilet paper, you come out with a trampoline. How does that happen? You know what it is? It's the free samples. I love the free samples. I mean, we tell our kids not to take candies from strangers. Meanwhile, at Costco, some stranger in a hairnet and rubber gloves hands you cat food on a Triscuit and you put it in your mouth. You want another one? Meow. This is delicious. So the free samples, I love the free samples. I like the people who pretend though that they don't know what the free sample is. These people like, what is that? What is that? You're such a connoisseur after all, right? You're shopping at Costco, but all of a sudden now you've got the brandy snifter. What is that? It's peanut butter, lady. Move on. It's Kraft peanut butter. It's your third one. Go away. I love the free samples. I like the free samples. I like the book section. I love the books. I like the books, the prices, the selection, but not exactly the chapters atmosphere, huh? The warm lighting, the classical music, the little Starbucks in the corner. Somehow I don't think at Starbucks, as you're thumbing through Eat, Pray, Love, there's a woman standing beside you trying on a bra over her ski jacket. I don't think so. And finally, I just love, love, love the jewelry section. Excuse me, is that watch a Cartier or is it a Kirkland? Could you have the forklift bring it over a bit closer, please? Anyways, I love Costco for Christmas shopping, especially. So listen, I hope you're laughing. I hope you're chuckling. I hope you're at least smiling because, again, when we laugh, we relax. When we relax, we learn. And it really is a tremendous, tremendous superpower. We gravitate towards leaders who have a sense of hope, who have a sense of humor. Again, on my podcast, Laugh Long and Prosper, I was chatting with a professor in the States who talked about leaders who used humor as one of their tools to help motivate the people who were following them, to help motivate their citizens during stressful times. So, Abraham Lincoln was a very funny person, apparently, had a great sense of humor. Winston Churchill had a great sense of humor. Barack Obama had a great sense of humor. Right? Oh, Barack Obama. I wish Barack Obama was still president of the United States. He so funny, so self-deprecating, so smart. And in fact, I think he's so funny, so self-deprecating, so smart, so caring. I don't really think he's American. I actually think he's Canadian. I think he's totally Canadian because remember when he tried to socialize healthcare in the States, they'd always bring up Canada like we're some sort of banana republic. I know we're not perfect. Like I had to get a mammogram a couple of months ago and everything worked out. But ladies don't hate getting a mammogram, right? Because they have to get a picture of your boob and they use a sketch artist, but it's free. So who cares, right? Yeah, basically it's this vice grip that they jam you into, crank down until they flatten you into like a McCain's thin crust pizza. And then what's the thing? They go, don't move, don't move. You know, like you're going to get up with the machine attached to you, drag it down the hallway for 15 minutes. Anyway, um, I lived in the States. I lived in the States for 6 years, and I was doing morning radio down there as well. As I mentioned, I was doing stand-up comedy and just speaking about being Canadians. Anytime somebody down there found out I was Canadian, they'd always say the same thing. Oh, you Canadians, you're so nice. You're so laid back. You're so polite. But you know what? You can afford to be nice and laid back and polite because we here in the States are doing all the heavy lifting. I say, really? I'd say, yes. Canadians, we're nice. We're laid back. We're polite, but we get things done in our own way. Sure, you can get into Canada with a gun in your car, but God forbid you come through with a nectarine that doesn't have a label on it. You know what I'm talking about, folks? Right? So there you go. A positive attitude includes humor. When it comes to relieving stress, when it comes to using humor to help us with big changes in our life. When we laugh, we relax. When we relax, we learn and we keep our stress levels at bay. We lower the temperature. So number one, a positive attitude. Number two, of course, resilience, perseverance. Perseverance gives us passion. Passion gives us push when everybody else drops off, as Gary Vaynerchuk says. I did a TED Talk a number of years ago about resiliency, about using humor when fighting stress. I got to chat with 400 high school students. We all know how jaded high school students can be. But I said to them, no matter what changes you face in your life, use one of the tools of that we forget about. Use your tool of humor because humor has so many gifts that we forget about. Humor has given me so many gifts in my life. It gave me very funny parents, for one. My mom and my dad were very funny people, but they grew up in some very unfunny times. I'm actually half Dutch, 1/4 Asian, 1/8 Black, and 1/8 vodka. It's a perfect combination. My dad's from Holland, my mom's from Guyana, or my dad was from Holland, my mom was from Guyana. Now, when my dad grew up in Holland, it was during the Second World War. Holland got bombed really badly. And my dad said he always remembers my Oma and my Opa, his father and mother. They spent a lot of time in the cellar with the three kids. They'd have the kitchen pots over their heads. And my dad said that my Oma and Opa would always be trying to make the kids laugh during this horrible time of change, during this horrible time of war. They would use humor. They would tell jokes. They would tell funny stories. They would try to make fun of the German soldiers that were banging on their door maybe half an hour earlier, looking to see if they were hiding anybody in their attic, looking to see if they were hiding bicycles in their attic. And both of those reasons you could be sent away. And my grandparents were hiding somebody in their attic. They were hiding bikes in their attic as well, because you know what they say about the Dutch: wooden head, wooden shoes, wouldn't listen. And that quirky sense of humor that my grandmother and my grandfather had in Holland, that's what got the kids through that Second World War. My dad was convinced of it, got my grandparents through it. And my dad grew up with that quirky sense of humor, and a very, very funny man. My mother grew up in Guyana, where there was still is a lot of poverty, but she had very funny parents. And all of the kids had this quirky sense of humor that they used to deal with change, to deal with things that came their way. So resiliency, using humor to be resilient, using humor during scary times of change. Okay, so that's number two, resiliency. Number three, forgiveness. Forgiveness is a huge stress buster, whether we're dealing with somebody difficult at work, whether we're dealing with somebody difficult or someone who's not as perfect as us at home. So I've got a quick forgiveness exercise that I would like to try with you. It's very simple. You can try it there. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to close your eyes. Can you close your eyes, please? Okay. And I would like you to close your eyes. And now I want you to think of that difficult client that you've maybe had to work with in the past, or that difficult person at home that said something about you. Just pick one difficult or not so perfect person, and I want you to visualize that person. Okay. And now I want you to put your imaginary hands around their imaginary neck and just squeeze for 3 seconds. Okay. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Okay. Now let go. Let go. All right. Obviously, I'm kidding. I'm totally teasing. I want you to shake it out, though. I want you to shake it out. I'm teasing, but I use this as an example because there's a fantastic quote. And that quote is from a book called The Shack. And it basically says, forgiveness is not about forgetting. Forgiveness is just letting go of the other person's neck. All right. So let go. Let go of the stress. All right. So when it comes to dealing with stress, number one, a positive attitude. A positive attitude includes humor. Number two, resiliency, resilience to change. Number three, forgiveness. Forgiveness is huge. When we choose not to forgive, we are firing off our adrenaline. We're firing off our cortisol. And so many times that other person, that not so perfect client, that not so perfect person in your life, they're not even thinking about you. They've gone on, but here you are literally stewing in your own chemicals. All right. So forgiveness is huge. Number four, faith. Believing in something bigger than ourselves. It doesn't have to be religious. It doesn't have to be spiritual, but just the idea of giving back has so much power. We're coming up on Black Friday in the States, and there's a company, Patagonia, that I'm sure most of you have heard about. And, just talk about giving back. Companies that give back, companies that have that in their mission statements, that have that as part of their mantra, and their employees, people that they hire, believe in that. So Patagonia, for example, they decided from day one that what they wanted to do is give a percentage of their proceeds to environmental groups. Now, what ended up happening is every Good Friday, every Black Friday, a little bit different. Every Black Friday, they would give the proceeds from Black Friday to these environmental groups. Their last Black Friday, they earmarked that they were going to make about $1 million. They made $10 million. Because here's the thing, when you give back, other people buy into that. It's not only great for the person or the organization that you're giving to, but it's good for you. And there's lots of people who aren't outdoors people, but they like what Patagonia stands for. And they buy the product because A, it is a good product, but B, they like the fact that that company actually gives back. So giving back is huge. Again, it's not only for the person or the organization that we give to, but it's also great for us. It is great for us mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Uh, when I was in radio, I got to interview a lot of celebrities who are doing great work giving back. Chris Martin from Coldplay, an amazing human being. Celine Dion, she's incredible, phenomenal. A little side story about Celine really quickly. I got a chance to see her in Las Vegas. She's such a warrior considering everything that she's gone through. And I saw her in Vegas. She was fantastic. But a couple of weeks after I saw her, there was an incident in the crowd. This woman stood up and she started heckling Celine Dion, of all people. And Celine was so cool, apparently. She just started talking to the woman. She started talking her down, and she created this connection with her. And they connected on talking about their kids. And she basically said, okay, what is it that you want? Okay, the entire show shut down for a second. And the woman said, I just want to give you a hug. And Celine said, okay, if you give me a hug, will you stay in your seat? Will you be quiet? And she hugged Celine. She sat in her seat. She was fine for the rest of the show. Are you kidding me? How Canadian is that? If that was Mariah Carey would have pulled a Glock out of her cleavage. I'm not kidding. So very, very Canadian. But Celine Dion, an incredibly giving person, incredibly generous person, who is one of the during the tsunami in Thailand, was one of the first celebrities to publicly say how much money she was donating, the millions of dollars she was donating, because she wanted to trigger other celebrities to do the exact same thing. So absolutely phenomenal. But I will say, when it comes to giving and it comes to celebrity status, one of the most amazing people I spoke to, a bit of a celebrity in Canada at the time when he was CEO of World Vision, Dave Toyson. We interviewed Dave Toyson on a show that we were doing about World Vision. And at the end of the show, Dave gave me his book, and it was called The Power of Generosity. And in that book is an amazing statistic. And the statistic is this, that the generosity of a child isn't dependent on the age of the child, the sex of the child, the socioeconomic status of the child, what country they're from, whatever. The biggest thing that will affect whether they will be a generous person or not is whether they have one or two parents who are generous people that can give them that example. So what better thing to be able to impact not only one life, your child's life, but so many other individuals that they might be able to help. So the power of giving back is truly phenomenal. Again, not just for whoever we're helping, but also lowering our stress levels, making us feel better emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. All right, so number one, a positive attitude when it comes to dealing with stress. Number two, resiliency. Number three, forgiveness. Number four, faith, giving back. Number five, healthy mental activity. Again, never before have we been inundated with so much information. We feel overwhelmed. I know you feel overwhelmed. You're at the point of burning out or have burnt out. There is a wonderful quote. There is a crime worse than burning books, and that is not reading. And I don't know how many people here love to read, but reading is a great exercise to trigger our left brain as well as our right creative side. But we're not only influenced by what we read, we're influenced by how we read. Researchers at Stanford did an incredible study where they took a group of people, they divided the group in half. They said to one half of the group, we want you to read this Jane Austen novel as if you're flipping through a magazine. The other half, they said, we want you to read this Jane Austen novel as if you're studying for an exam. And sure enough, the group that was reading as if they were studying for an exam had a huge amount more of blood flow to one particular area of their brain. More blood flow means more neural pathways, means improved critical thinking. Not only do we learn something maybe practical by reading it, but we also learn how to learn. We improve our critical thinking. And you can improve your critical thinking. I'm sure you've heard that you can improve your critical thinking by learning a new instrument, or learning an instrument, learning a new language, traveling. But we can also improve our critical thinking by just stepping up the things that we're doing already in our lives, like watching television. Maybe instead of watching 4 hours of Storage Wars, maybe we come home and we watch something with subtitles. Maybe we watch a good detective series. A good detective series is actually great for your brain. It's great for your critical thinking because you've got to keep track of all the characters and the storylines and the red herrings. And so if you have a good detective series with subtitles, hey, you're really stepping up your game. Reading. If we step up our game in reading, we activate both our left and our right creative side, and we improve our critical thinking by just getting a little bit outside of our comfort zone. So the first time I heard this, I thought, you know what? I'm going to step up my reading game. I picked up a copy of Stephen Hawking's Brief History of Time about quantum physics and string theory. Sure, I had to take a nap after the first paragraph, but you know what? I improved my critical thinking. So, just by reading, by stepping outside of our comfort zone and the things that we're doing already, we're learning how to learn. Another great way to improve our critical thinking and also lower our stress levels. I've got some stress busting tips from my Second City classes that I teach, is meditation. I don't know how many people meditate, but I've got news for you. If you've never meditated a day in your life, if you were to start by just 5 minutes a day, even 3 minutes a day, just clearing your mind, if you could work up to half an hour a day, okay, within 2 months, you improve the density of your gray matter in your brain. Remember, the gray matter is like the factory that builds the messages for the rest of our brain and our body. The white matter is like the highways that those messages travel on. And just by meditating, half an hour a day, within 8 weeks, we can improve the density of our gray matter. Also, when we meditate, we fire off an enzyme called telomerase. Telomerase repairs frayed DNA strands. So if you're suffering from frayed DNA, try the conditioner called telomerase. All right. There's a really great podcaster by the name of Tim Ferriss. He also wrote a book called The 4 Hour Work Week. But Tim wrote a lesser known book called Tools of Titans. And he interviewed some of the top CEOs, some of the top entrepreneurs. He wanted to know what made them tick. And over 80% of them said they included meditation in their regular daily routine. Tim said for the 20 years that he's been meditating, he doesn't look at it as time that he's losing. He doesn't look at it as I'm losing half an hour a day trying to meditate. He looks at it as time that he's actually gained, because he believes that in all of the years that he's been meditating, he's actually increased his productivity by over 50%. There was an insurance company in the States that had over 25,000 employees. They put a quarter of their employees into a wellness program that included meditation. And within 2 months, not only on average were they 1 hour more productive per week, but their healthcare costs were down by 7%. So that is the power of meditation. And bing, that's a little bell there for me. So that's the bell for me to give you some meditation hacks. Okay, so never if you've meditated, and never if you've never meditated before is what I want to say. I want you to get Zen. Okay, I want you to close your eyes. And these are some exercises, if you could just close your eyes, that I do with my Second City students because they come to class, they want to learn how to do stand up comedy, they're stressed out, they're in their left logical side. I need them to be on their right, bright, creative side. And I need them to stay on their right, bright, creative side. So just before you're about to go into the grip, remember some of these meditation hacks. Okay. All right, so the first one is very easy. Just keep your eyes closed. And what I'd like you to do is just cross your arms right now and just rub the sides of your arms, okay? Maybe you have to open your eyes for this one just to see what I'm doing here, but I want you to rub the sides of your arms like this because this tells your body to relax because it reminds us of when we were a baby and we'd be patted by our mom or our dad. Okay, so that triggers us to relax. Okay, that triggers us to calm down. So that's a quick hack. Okay, so get your eyes closed again, please. Please close your eyes. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to put your two fingers in your ears. Okay, pull your ears down a little bit so you can still hear me. And I would like you to just massage the inside of your ears. Massage the inside of your ears. The vagus nerve is one of the biggest nerves in our body. Okay, and when we massage our vagus nerve with our fingers in our ears like this, it tells our body to relax. All right, relax. So that's hack number 2. We are just massaging the vagus nerve. Okay. Hack number 3, we want to relax. We want to get a little bit more zen. Okay. Hack number 3, what I'd like you to do, and this exercise is actually, you can keep your eyes closed. I want you to pretend that you're in bed. You've got the zoomies. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. And any of these exercise works for the zoomies. But this one in particular, what I'd like you to do is put your hands behind your head. Okay, so you'd be lying in bed. Obviously, this would be better, but you can still do this if you were sitting up or if you were standing up. But you basically got your hands behind your head. Okay, and what I would like you to do is you can feel that little bump. Just cradle your skull in your hands. Now you're taking the pressure off of the vagus nerve by doing that. Okay, and we've got like 8 big optic nerves. You can almost feel them moving if you feel that little soft spot in the back of your skull. But for now, for this exercise, what I would like you to do with your hands cradled around the back of your head like this. So you'd be lying in bed, but you can also do it sitting up. Keep your eyes closed, and I want you to just move your eyes to the left. Just move your eyes, just look to the left with your eyes closed, move your eyes to the left because you are triggering those optic nerves. Keep looking. Ultimately, you would do this for 30 seconds, both ways, to your left and your right. But if you move your eyes to the left, if you put your fingers in the back of a small part of your head, you can even feel some movement of those muscles. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll look to the left. It might even make you yawn. Okay, again, we are triggering our nerves. We're telling our body to relax. Okay, we are tricking our body into relaxing. So ultimately, you would do this 30 seconds, both sides. Okay, so that's hack number, I believe we're on hack number 3. Okay, hack number 4. This one, please keep your eyes closed. Please keep your eyes closed. This one you may have heard before. This has been used by Navy SEALs. It's been used by CEOs. Just keep your eyes closed. And it's something called square breathing. But before we do it, what I would like you to do is put your left hand on your chest. Put your right hand on your stomach. Okay, your left hand on your chest, your right hand on your stomach. Okay, and I would like you to inhale. Okay, inhale for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. Okay, and release. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you is your chest moving up and down? Because your chest shouldn't be moving up and down. Ultimately, you almost want to feel your stomach push out if you're breathing properly. Okay, so while we're doing some square breathing, I want you to be conscious of that. And at the very least, with your hand your left hand on your chest. Try not to move your chest when you inhale. Okay. So we're going to do some square breathing. What I'd like you to do is inhale for 4 seconds. We're going to hold it for 4 seconds, and then we're going to release it for 4 seconds. Okay. All right. So inhale for 4 seconds. Breath number 1, 101, 102, 103, 104. And hold it for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. And release for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. Breath number 2, inhale for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. Hold it for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. And release for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. Breath number 3, try and keep your chest still. Inhale for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. Hold it for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. And release for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. Okay. And just open your eyes. Open your eyes. That is square breathing. You can practice that anywhere. If you're driving, obviously you don't close your eyes, but just holding your breath for 4 seconds, just inhaling for 4, hold it for 4, and release for 4. Do that 4 times. That's why we call it square breathing. Okay. So the 7 ingredients when it comes to relieving stress. Number 1, a positive attitude. A positive attitude includes humor. Number 2, persistence, perseverance, resiliency, being resilient when we are facing change. Perseverance gives us passion. Passion gives us push when everybody else drops off. Number 3, forgiveness is huge. When we choose not to forgive, we are firing off our adrenaline. We are firing off our cortisol, those stress hormones that are overlapping, that over time are taking, at the very least, quality out of our lives, but at the very most could be shaving off some time. Okay, so forgiveness is huge. Number 5, healthy mental activity. Never before have we been inundated with so much information. We feel overwhelmed, we're stressed out, but again, we have this real estate in our brain that just doesn't get enough use, and that is our right, bright, creative side. And when we choose to be happy, when we choose to be hopeful, when we do things like meditation, when we do things like share a joke with our friends, we are triggering our right, bright, creative side. Family and friends is number 6. That's kind of a given. And finally, number 7, healthy physical activity. If you read one book this year, Younger Next Year, written by 2 physicians, and you've probably heard that sitting is the new smoking. These 2 physicians basically say, listen, you can go to the gym in the morning and you can almost undo everything that you've done by sitting for 7 or 8 hours at your desk. They said it's better to think of it this way. Think of it in terms of circulation. Once every 30 seconds, just move. Just stretch, just move. It's about movement. It's about circulation, just getting up and stretching or moving, especially if you're watching Netflix at night, okay? Once every half an hour, just stand up, just stretch a little bit, okay? So Younger Next Year, fantastic, fantastic book. I'm going to share one last story with you because I know I've given you so much information, but storytelling is a great way to also activate our right, bright, creative side, as well as store information. Okay, so you may have heard this before, but it touches on the pillars I talked about this afternoon. So a farmer has a donkey and the donkey falls down a well. Now the farmer doesn't have the equipment to get the donkey out of the well, so he starts to panic and he grabs a shovel and he starts burying the donkey. And the donkey's kicking and braying and panicking, and all the villagers run to the edge of the well. They go, "What are you doing?" But all of a sudden, the most miraculous thing happens. The next shovel shovel of dirt that goes down the well. The donkey shakes it off and he takes a step up onto the dirt. The next shovel of dirt that goes down the well. The donkey shakes it off and he takes a step up onto the dirt until eventually the donkey walks out of the well. Now, life's going to throw a lot of dirt on us. Life's going to throw a lot of challenges on us. But the key is to learn from those challenges and take a step up. And remember the 5 laws to life. Free your heart from hatred, forgive. Free your mind from worry. Most of the things we worry about never happen. Practice gratitude, the attitude of gratitude. Give more and finally expect less. Now, do you know what happened to the donkey? When the donkey walked out of the well, he turned around and he bit the farmer. The farmer died from septic shock. The real moral of the story, ladies and gentlemen, when you try to cover your ass, it comes back to bite you. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you so much. Again, thank you, George, and all the organizers. And yeah, if you like me this afternoon, my name's Judy. If you don't, my name's Sandy.